And now we move to turn 5. So the Hussars have now moved in front of the 2 line regiments, line battalions, who are over here. And they're going through a field which will slow them down slightly. The voltigeurs have realised that discretion is the better part of valour again. They certainly don't want to face an opening volley from this battalion of line here, so they have retreated away from that. Because the Hussars are coming over from their left, the column of French infantry here have decided that as the Hussars are just about in range of a charge, probably best not to continue forward in column but to form square. So they're effectively stopped. They can move in a square but very slowly. So they are effectively pinned down by the Hussars who are coming over from here, which means that the line infantry may well advance, pushing back the voltigeurs. The artillery are still here able to fire, so they may well be able to do some more damage to the line on the British left flank. Sorry, right flank. In the centre, the 95th have started to form a group, as the centre of the British line is very vulnerable now. There is nothing there but artillery, so the command has gone for the 95th to withdraw slightly and form some sort of defence in the centre. So they are moving together. Over here, the voltigeurs have retreated behind the advancing columns, who have just marched straight through them as they're dispersed as skirmishers. That's easy enough for them to do. That does not really slow them down very much. So the 2 columns have now surged forward after the general has become very impatient that they are mainly standing there and letting the voltigeurs do their work. That is not their job. Their job is to punch forward, and as part of the line it's only defended by the artillery and the 95th. That is where they need to be going towards, particularly as over on the far side they have the cavalry engaged and the other column of infantry coming, skirting the woods to go towards the 2 line battalions on the British or Allied left. So I shall take the camera over again just to show you what's going on over there. So we have the 2 columns advancing, and they are now within range of the 1st line infantry of the Allied side, who will be about to deliver a volley. However, it will only be from 3, possibly 2 companies, as there are only 2 facing, and the other 4 are facing either the cavalry over here or the column of infantry coming out of the woods. So we're going to have 3 different targets for them to aim at. The Brunswickers at the back can also hit some of the cavalry, but only the 4 companies that actually have a clear shot. 2 companies on the far end of their line cannot see anything clearly at all, so will not be able to take part in this particular round. So now we'll move on to the firing. So the British are aiming towards... Okay, so the British artillery aim for the advancing column in the centre there. 1 hit, 2 hits, so 2 more casualties. Okay, for the artillery fire, the British caused 2 casualties on the advancing column. The 95th also get 2 shots off and score 2 more hits. So that's 4 casualties altogether. On the flank we have, because this is an opening volley, there are 2 companies there, so that's 2 dice plus 1, so we get 3 dice, which is 1 hit, 2 hits. Okay, so the centre of the line also get 3 dice, 2 hits, 2 hits. And 3 shots on the Lancers has caused 2 Lancer casualties. The Brunswickers also have 3... Actually, no, they can't see anyone yet. No, the Brunswickers can't see anyone, so they cannot fire at the moment. So that leaves us with the hand-to-hand combat of the cavalry attack. As the Hussars are light cavalry against ordinary cavalry, they get 4 dice, but it's -1 to each throw, so that's 4 -1, so they need to get 7 or greater. So the first 2 is 1 casualty, and the second 2 is no casualty, so only 1 more Lancer is taken away. And for the French attack we get 5 dice, and they need to get 6 or more. So that's 2, 3 Hussar casualties. So this round's casualties were 3 Hussars and a line infantry, because the French artillery only took 1 casualty this time, whereas the French have lost 8 line infantry and 3 Lancers, so very heavy losses this turn for the French. However, their columns are about to unleash their opening volley over here, and the Hussars are going to take casualties a lot more seriously than the French cavalry on the far side there. The Brunswickers, if they see that the Hussars are in serious difficulties, because it won't take long for the Hussars to need a morale check if they get down to 50% strength, they may well have to form square to anchor that flank, which means we may well have a square on each side of the field. As for this side of the action, the 2 line infantry will no doubt advance, and those voltigeurs look very vulnerable in the centre to the Hussars, who may decide to attack those rather than the square, but sooner or later there's going to be some casualties on this side of the field as well. So things are starting to pan out, and I shall just see how many casualties we've taken so far. So the French have lost 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 men. Their line infantry, 3 Lancers and 3 voltigeurs, whereas the British have lost 9 line infantry, 4 of the 95th and 3 Hussars. So now we come to turn 6, which starts with the Allied movement, and I've actually moved them now, so I'm just going to take you through what they've done. On the Allied right flank, the Hussars have continued across the field. You notice that I've replaced the impromptu field that I made for previous turns with a highly accurate custom built ploughed field, which is, well, I'll give away a trade secret, it's corrugated cardboard with some flock on it, painted brown, but it does the job and it looks a lot more effective than the pan scrubbers. So anyway, enough of this. Both lines of infantry have advanced to come into contact or to try to get up close with these voltigeurs, who more than likely will see discretion rather than valour and retreat, and that will bring the Allied line closer in contact with the French square that has formed and the French guns, which show no signs of retreating at the moment. So that's what's happened on this flank. On the other flank, I will show you what is happening over there. In the centre, the guns have stayed where they are. They're ready to fire another round of shots off if they can find a target. The light infantry have started to join in with the 95th Roll, have started to join in with the regular line units. And the Brunswickers have formed square in the far left flank there to anchor that flank, because there is one hell of a cavalry battle going on here still. So if we can just see through the trees, we'll have another round, and I don't think the Hussars are going to do very well out of this, so they may well break and disappear. As for the French, I will do their move now. Okay, now the British artillery, after the French move, can only see one unit of, or they can only get one battery to fire because they've got skirmishers too close to them here. They have to be 8 centimetres away, so actually let's just check that those skirmishers may be 8 centimetres. Okay, so we can't fire over through these guys, but we can fire through those. So basically we've got 2 units there, and they look 8 centimetres away as well, so we've got 3. Only 1 unit can not fire. As for the French move, their voltigeurs have indeed retreated, but they're right in front of the French artillery, which means that the French artillery cannot fire this round, apart from the one at the end there, who can fire. So let me just show that. I want to point out that the French columns have now finally come into contact with the enemy, and there isn't enough room for them to deploy into line, so they're forced to attack as column, but that's what traditionally they would do. If there was space, then one of them would at least have got it deployed into line, which would have meant they wouldn't fire anyway because it'd be too busy doing that. So I'm going to see what happens with this dice roll. 3 British guns will have to fire first, so let's see what they score. They're going to attack or hit these guys here, who have now been reduced to half their number, so they're ready for a morale roll, which will happen after the turn. They'll be allowed 1 opening volley as they've come into contact with the Allies, as will the Allies have an opening volley, which means they have to throw 1.5 times the dice. So let's just sort out the artillery fire first. And they get 2 hits, so that's 2 French removed. And the French artillery are going to have another go at these guys advancing here, and they have to throw a 5 because they're French. And they've got a 10, which is a hit anyway, so that's another casualty for the British Allies. Okay, so now we come to the musketry. No musketry at all on this side of the field because everybody is well out of range. The square are holding firm, and they are not within musket range yet either. So basically on that side, this side of the field, that's it. And in the centre we've got some light infantry who get to fire 1.5 times the dice. They've got 2 units here, so that's 3 dice to throw. Are they in rifle range? Let's see. Yes, they are. So yes, that's 3 dice for the 95th. And they get 2 hits, so another 2 lost for the French, who are taking serious casualties here. And there's an opening volley from these 2 units, so they again get 3 dice. And they're all misses. As for here, we get another 3 dice. Oops. And that's 2 hits. And at the far end of the field, these guys here have another 1, 2, 3 units to fire. So that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4 dice. And they get 2 hits. So the first casualties from the French here. And the Brunswickers cannot fire because they've just formed square. So that's that. So let's start with the cavalry action, which I'm going to move the camera over for that. So we've got 3 dice for the French cavalry, and they've only taken away 1 casualty of hussars, which is very poor indeed. Whereas the hussars get 2 dice and take away 2 French, so a bit of a turn up there. So 1 hussar casualty and 2 French casualties. So now on this flank, on the French right, the infantry got a chance to retaliate. They've got 4 bases in the front here, so that means they get 6 shots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5 out of 6 hits, which is pretty good fire from the French. To check for morale for this unit, because they've got 50% casualties now, so they need to throw a 3 or higher. And there are various factors on there. They have been fired at this turn. They also have got 50% casualties, so that's -3 on the dice. But they do have a unit close to them, so they don't take a minus for that. And they are in column, so they get +1 for that, so I need to take 2 off the dice. So I think we should be quite safe on that. We need to get a 3 or more. Oh dear. Oh dear. It's a 2. That means that they have been shaken. So they have to move a half move to its rear. So that is a bit of a blow for the French here. Fortunately, the other unit next to them doesn't have to take a morale check, so we're going to have to do a half move back. And they're in column. is it starting to unravel for the valiant French general. Okay, that's the only morale check. The Hussars are certainly not down to 50% casualties. In fact, they're not even down to 25% casualties yet, so no morale check for them. So that is basically the end of turn 6. At the end of turn 6, the British have lost 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 line infantry, 5 of the 95th and 4 Hussars, whereas the French have lost, let me see, 3 voltigeurs, 4 lancers, 1 dragoon, and 10, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 line infantry, which is pretty phenomenal and probably explains why they had to retreat in the centre. However, things may well change. It's slightly better here because the French within musketry range seem to be doing quite well with their throwing, and surely sooner or later those Hussars are going to get overwhelmed, so we shall see in turn 7. And this is the start of turn 7, so I shall show you the Allied movement first. The Hussars will be able to exit the field next turn, and the infantry have advanced yet again. They are going to come up into contact with the square pretty soon, but also these artillery who will fire on them. And in the centre, all of the artillery can fire as the skirmishers have moved up. The line in the centre are holding firm at the moment. They will be able to unleash another volley, but it won't be an opening volley, so it will be a slightly reduced volley. The square is ready to fire. They can fire into the flank of some of the lancers there, and the Hussars are totally engrossed in the melee over there. The French, they're engrossed with the melee over there. The infantry that were coming around the side of the woods, they've managed to get some more men into contact. These guys are still in contact as well, and the unit that was shaken can still fire off because they're within range. A couple of dice throws there. Meanwhile, over here, all the artillery can fire now because the voltigeurs have disappeared behind them, and the square has moved forward slightly so that they can take some shots at the line infantry and cavalry if they're foolish enough to venture towards them. So we'll see what happens after the artillery, which the Allies again can fire now 4 shots as the light infantry move forward. So let's do the artillery first. So we have 4, which again they're going to try and hit the shaken unit. Three more hits. They really are taking a bit of a battering, these boys. And the French artillery fire is going to be on this front line unit, so they get 4. So they just need 5s. And they get 2 more hits. So that's pretty poor. Okay, there is no musketry going on this flank as yet, so now we get the musketry in the centre. So 2 shots from the light infantry, and they've got another 2 hits. dear. And there is one shot, sorry, 2 shots here because they've taken some casualties, so 2 dice. And that's one more hit on these guys. And we get 4 shots from the British. And that's 2 casualties. Now, can this square fire into the unit there? No, they're just too far away. So that's a bit of a problem for the Brunswick general. So he's going to have to move those slightly forward to start taking some action, which they've done absolutely nothing so far. So unless the hussars break, then they're not going to get called into action. But it probably would be a good idea to come up closer to the line infantry anyway next turn, so I think that's what they will have to do. Okay, so the cavalry combat. We get 1, 2, 3 dice for the lancers and dragoons, and they get, sorry, the Tsars need to fire first, don't they? They've got 1, 2, 3 dice, I want 2 dice, and both misses. So that's them done. Okay, so the French will do the cavalry. 2, they get 3. And that's 1 more loss for the Hussars. Three dice for the line infantry, and that's 3 complete misses. As for these guys, they get 2 dice, and that's 1 hit, a 1-hit wonder. And we get 2 dice from those, and that's 2 hits. So the British taking a bit more of a pounding now. And I won't do the casualties this time, but I will do it at the end of next turn. So that is the end of turn 7.